Delicioso day. Delicioso day. Well, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, and perhaps even good evening. Wonderful to see you all. There's Mr. Brian, there's Mr. Jeremy, there's Mr. Chris, there's Miss Julia, and there's many other people. Thank you so much for dropping by and hanging out with me. It's going to be an interesting little, just experimental session, a little bit more with Painter, and Mr. Jeremy is absolutely right. You can get this bundle for another, what did you say? So many days. This is cool. It was actually supposed to be finished last week, but I guess they had so much success with it that they decided, hey, let's just go and extend it a little bit. And I thought that's kind of cool because I'm so addicted to it. I'm really loving it, and I thought I'll just keep experimenting with it because it's kind of nice. This is how we learn. A little bit of music in the background. We'll see how that goes. And yes, that's really let's wait for Painter to start while we then go and fiddle around. Very cool. Mr. Max is here as well. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening, I think, in your case. And thank you, Roberta. Wonderful to see you too. There we go. That's the other button I forgot to press. Brian is going to have an interesting day at the DMV. That's interesting. I think that is an organization that is known as the DMV, both in the US as well in the UK, I think. I'm not entirely sure. I don't really deal with such stuff myself, but Julia, I remember in her day, has dealt with stuff like that, so I thought I'm going to go and explore some of the funky photo painting or photo art things in Painter. So there's like tons of brushes that we can explore, of course. That's always really nice to play around with those. But what I didn't know is that Painter also had this mode in which you can import a regular picture and then have Painter turn it into some kind of an artwork. And there's lots of such things that allow you to either use it as a starting point for your own ventures to completely distort an existing picture, or you can go and just leave it as is. So I think that's similar to Brian's approach in the animation, in the Painterly animation that he's done, in which he used PaintShop Pro, I believe, to turn every single frame of the animation into kind of an artistic version and then assemble that into an animation, which is really cool. Not entirely sure why it takes like forever to load, but hey, there's a lot of stuff in the background that needs to be done. Mr. Chris, it was an interesting tussle this morning between your mug and my mug. My mug won, but your mug was literally standing next to it. And I was thinking, oh, maybe I want to have Chris's mug, so one of those things. Look, the bot's with us as well. That's really cool. There, I think we're slowly getting there. So photo art has its own panel here. This is one thing that I'm not entirely sure about Painter, all these floaty little palettes. I do like things to be docked, but I suppose if you had multiple monitors, it's just easy to drop them over here. I think the photo art palette, that is under window. And then there's photo art panels. There's our AI style, underpainting, auto painting, and restoration. I don't really know much about any of them, so I thought we were going to go and see if we can work out what they are. So there's one is AI style that has its own palette here. Then this is underpainting. This is auto painting, and this is restoration. And I think it all starts by new clone document or current document. That's interesting. So I think it all starts by us importing a picture to which we then add such an AI style. I think let's go and see what's happening. Oh, that is nice, Chris. That's really interesting. I have a packet of fresh eggnog in the fridge, so it'll be maybe I'll do that as well. I think your mug's going to be reserved for eggnog. I like it. So whenever I drink from Chris's mug, it'll be the eggnog mug. I like it. Let's go and make maybe a new document to begin with. 1920 by 1080 should work the treat. Then we'll place an image with place, I think. And we'll use one of these screenshots from among trees. Maybe like this one here. Allegedly, all we do is hit OK. It says the manual, and then it should be in the center, but I can also see that that's probably not quite the case, because as I move this around, if I go and hit OK now, it's just going to be dumped here. That's kind of not really what I want. So let me go and delete that and just try this again, because this is something I just haven't quite figured out yet. Place a picture. Whoops, not open template. Place a picture. Pick this, for example. Don't do anything. I see it's not actually in the center. Apparently I just hit enter and it's supposed to be in the center, but I don't think that's the case. Also, the moment I just move over to the OK button, the picture actually moves. So I'm really not sure if there should be like something like just a center image on canvas type button, but I don't know where that is. Auto select layer. This is the place button here. Reset. What is reset? It doesn't do anything. It's edit, flip, copy, paste content in its original place. How about that? Maybe that's what I needed to place or check. See what happens if I do this and then that. Is that what it? No, that doesn't do that either. Dang. So yeah, that's a mystery that I don't really understand, but that's okay. Mr. House, yes. Me too. I wonder how he's doing. If he's still called Mr. House or if he's called something else. That is very possible. Yes, he might be called something else. We don't need this layer anymore. And before I can get going here, I think with funky painterly effects, I think I have to go and clone this image. I think that is how this works. And to do that, I forgot what I had to do. There was another panel that let me do that, and it wasn't the photo art panel. It wasn't something else. It was under media panels. There we go, media panels, and then no, that's not the case. I think it was a different workspace that had that. Let's check it out. Workspace, or layout rather, photo art. That had a different panel open. Namely the photo art panel, there we go. And in it, oh yeah, I see, I had these things on the bottom now. The ones that were on the top a second ago. Gotcha. So this is clone source here. And wasn't there, where was the kind of the clone button now? Oh there, clone color, clone method, was that it? Oops. Enable clone color, no that wasn't it either. It's all pretty scary. The good thing is this whole thing comes with... yes, Brian. I wonder as well if Clarissa was still surprised to see him at her family vacation. A joke I haven't ever gotten. I don't think I'll ever get it. Now, where's clone again? What's that here somewhere? Quick clone. There we go. It's in the menu. Gotcha. Now, I'm not sure if I like this whole thing here. So clone source. I might go back to the other layout that I had here. which I think was the default, and then I just added the photo art palette there. Yes, let's do that, let's do that. So this still isn't quite in the center here. I do that, and I go down to the photo arts panel, and I put all these things on. There they are, perfect. So cloning the document, or the layer rather, quick clone. I never really know what exactly happens or why I need to now save something. I can just say no, I guess. And now we're in a different document and my painting is somewhere else. Don't really ask me how or how this works. It's kind of here now. It's part of the whole process. And I think now under AI style, I think I can pick a preset here. So this is just this is now just basically a kind of shining through. I would be painting on a different layer, I think, if I go make that happen. And I think, was it Control P? That lets me know, that wasn't it. It was Control T. Yes, there we go. Control T lets me toggle this on or off. So if I don't want to see that, I can just go and pick myself one of these cloner brushes here. Probably on the, that should be good here, clone spray. And because the style is now gray, it means I'm painting with the colors that the picture has underneath it. So that's how Painter thinks about this. So Control T then brings back the original picture just for my own reference. And there was another panel in the somewhere, photo something. It wasn't photo art, it was clone source reference image. This one maybe? No, that's a reference image. There was a way, there was a little tick box that you can enable or disable this as well. But Control T does actually do a good job. But there were, in that panel I'm kind of looking for, there was also a way to adjust the transparency. Let's see if I can find that. Color panels, that wasn't it. Brush panels, media panels. Media panels. Something about clone. Audio hints, navigator, reference image. Well, no, that wasn't it. Photo art panels, got that. This. It's always when you're looking for something, it's just not there, is it? Custom palette, that wasn't it either. Let me go back one more time to the photo art layout. Maybe we can figure it out. And the Julia has arrived. That's very, very cool. There it is. Right, the clone source in the photo art department here. I thought it's interesting so that this wasn't part of my other thing here. This is what I meant. So I can toggle this here and then I can also go and make it more or less transparent if I just don't want to see that all the time. This, I suppose, is kind of a way for me to add other clones in here. Haven't quite worked that out yet. Got to be brutally honest. I'm going to make my new layer here and just delete what I've done before, because those weren't really the right brushes I was going to use either. So this AI painting thing, that'll be interesting now. So there's several things I want to try out. I've read about this in this amazing 900-page user guide that comes with Painter. You can get that under Help User Guide. There's also an introduction here. So these two things, very, very nice read. I think written by artists actually. So it's something that it's kind of makes more sense to the guy using it rather than here's the interface. Now you work out the workflow. So workflow they do explain as well. It's very, very cool. So I'll go and turn this off here, and then in here, let me go pick something like colored pencil, and then it is now going to paint this in or calculate this in or something, I think. Yes, Julia's been working hard on Core. That is something I'd love to have a look at that myself. It's really, really cool. Interestingly, it hasn't quite done anything here. What happened? Do I still need to paint? No, that's not what I do. Oh yeah, okay, cool. So it has now done something to the painting. No, it hasn't. Why can't I remember how to do this? And why does it behave like this now? It is, some of these things are just so mysterious. I haven't had a chance to figure this out. It's kind of fun to do this by hand, but I think Painter also has this auto paint option in which it paints this picture for you. I thought this is what it's doing. It just put this in and then smooth acrylic, see what happens then. If I didn't pick a preset, if I just say AI style, see what happens then. I've been spending so many, ooh, look at that, interesting. I've been spending so many hours on trying to get just figuring out all these features. It's really, really cool. So this here has turned what I've painted into that effect. That's interesting. But there's an easier way to do this. So I don't have to do this by hand. I can just have Painter do this and apply the strokes itself. So AI style bold stroke, whatever I've painted, it now turns into something. I'm imagining, Brian, this is how your, look at that. I'm imagining that this is how your animation worked. That basically you had the script that would process one image after the other in Paint Pro, apply such an effect, and then save it out, right? That is a bit like how you did it. It's just because I picked up that some of the effects that I'm seeing with Painter look very similar to what you were doing in with your animation. So fairly similar effects. Auto paint, maybe that's it. Smart stroke painting. Oh, let me just go press the play button. Ah, I see. It goes and paints. How exciting. Let the computer paint. I like it. Does it paint over my layer? Yes, it does. Oh, that's what auto paint does. So what is smart stroke painting then? Still painting. Goody, so that's what auto painting does. Still doing it. Oh, we can go stop it. That's also cool. I wonder if... So if how it's supposed to paint, is this what I'm doing here, like heavy brushing? Is that what I'm picking here and then I'm having it auto paint? Oh, here it is, apply to current document, and now I get it. Is this how I do it? I do this and then it goes apply to the whole document. Interesting. Aged print, yeah, let's do that instead. Aged print. Fascinating. It goes and paints my picture. A macro for the painting effect, right? And then a script that runs it on all the frames, all inside of Paint Pro. I remember when you told me that they had this, that they had added this option that you didn't have to use some kind of external hack script anymore, that it was now all in Paint Pro. That does sound exciting. Also interesting. So at any point when I want to get involved, I can. That's neat. So I can see this being valuable for something like an underpainting. I mean, not so much for, you know, this is just more like a smudgy effect. But if I now wanted to add my own detail on top of it, this is kind of nice. It sets the mood for the image already. So restoration then, what does that do? Soft edge cloner brush, hard edge cloner brush. Oh, I see. Now I can restore parts of the image that I'd like to come back. Interesting. Soft edge cloner brush does, I suppose, give it a soft edge. Gotcha. So my original image is still there. That's neat. Huh. But this is only one way to do it, I believe. So there's multiple ways of getting something like a painting like this done. I just haven't quite figured out the best workflow for this, nor do I quite understand this whole thing about the cloning documents and all that. There's underpainting as well. Classical scheme. Oh, nice. This is a classic underpainting, is it? Reset or apply. Chalk drawing scheme. Oh, okay. What happens if I said apply to current document or to new clone document? My goodness. I'm not quite familiar what an underpainting actually is. Thank you. Yes, I was wondering if you could paste the link. Yes, good idea. I had always assumed an underpainting is the thing that gives it an initial wash on the canvas and then you build up on top of that, but I might be completely wrong about this. Impressionist scheme. And then on top of it, I have a darken and other stuff here. Ew, that looks nice. Apply it already. Awesome. So that's underpainting. And then on top of that, we also have these AI styles. This is very difficult to understand, I have to say. But hey, if it lets us make awesome art, that's really cool. Let me go and close this and then start again from scratch and see if I can work it out. So if I go and just open one of these images, like this one here with the fire, with the campfire. And then go, I think I don't have to do quick clone if I just want to apply an effect. That is also possible differently here with effects. And there was another thing that let me do that. But I think for the whole, if you wanted to paint on top of it, there's quick clone and clone. I wonder what the difference is. Let's try clone. Clone, just put it into the clone slot here. Whereas I think quick clone makes a whole new document. So that's also interesting. So if I go and not use quick clone and just go create a new document that I want to use, like this one, make it nice and full screen, and then place my image like I did before. I wonder if I can then just go and clone it like this, place it. Placing in the center really needs a shortcut here. That's really terrible, terribly unintuitive. So if I go and say file and then go clone, then it just goes into my clone thing here. Not sure what is going on there. Goody, so if I go make myself a new layer, switch canvas off, and then can I do this? Yeah, there we go, gotcha. Now the canvas can actually just be deleted, I suppose. There. And then I can paint on this layer with a cloner brush. I'm thinking. Interesting. Where's my picture? Yes. There's my picture. And maybe this is what this acrylics captured bristle brush does then. Maybe that's just what comes out of it if I go and paint with it. Different brush gives me different effects as I paint. Goody. I get it. But that's not AI auto painting. AI style aged print. I wonder what happens with these things. It is good stuff, Chris, absolutely. It's really cool. I was really pleased when I saw it the first time. It was really nicely done. Whoops, what happened here? That's not good. That's got to be broken. That bottom row there, I'm sure that shouldn't happen. Yeah, so this AI style I don't get. Underpainting I kind of half get. I just don't get the why. Auto painting sounds fun. But I think I have to use AI style first for that. It's just, what's the difference between a preset and an AI style? Fabulous animals. Let's try that. Yeah, so this is over my head. I don't get it at all. Shame. Oh, now with that, can I go and say auto paint? Indeed, if that works. But what I don't understand, does the computer now paint with the brush that I've got selected at the top here under acrylics dry brush? So if I go and stop it and undo it, if I select a different brush, like the chalk textured, and say auto paint now, does this do something different? Yes, it does. I see. It can paint much faster than I can. Does it also mean that if I go and change the brush size? So currently I'm no, this is a different brush. It doesn't paint with this brush, does it? Maybe it does. Maybe it does actually. Maybe it does. So if I go and say I'll make it larger and then have it auto paint, will it paint? Yes, will it paint with those brush strokes? Gotcha. Gotcha. I see. So if I wanted to make it, if I like that effect, but I wanted to make it really small and noticeable, I just have a really small brush size maybe. It'll take much longer for it to do it, but it'll also be much more detailed, I suppose. Interesting. Hey Neville, how you doing? Right. It makes more sense now. So this, I could do this by hand, but I could also have the computer do it. Gotcha. What else? And gouache thick flat. Let's try that. That's what it looks like. When the computer does it, it looks like that. I wonder where the smart stroke painting comes in. So this is with smart stroke, and it looks kind of nice. It almost, it understands that this goes up here and this goes down here, something like that. This looks really nice actually with the gouache, with the gouache, whatever, however you pronounce it. So what is then, if I do it without smart stroke painting, what does it look like then? Oh, it just goes and applies whatever random strokes wherever, without any regard of what the contents of the picture is, maybe. Interesting. So then, let's go undo that. In fact, undo that as well. What is then smart settings? There's also pressure modulation, but I can't seem to do anything here. There's a play button. So this is with smart settings. I wonder if it then, if it picked a suitable brush size that I thought was a good idea. I shouldn't call it it. I should call it, you know, he or painter. You're doing well. That's good to hear. That's good to hear, Neville. How are your broken ribs holding up? Have they healed yet? I'm not an expert, but I understand it takes quite a while for that to happen. Thick round pastel chalk, sponge dense. Let's try that. Sponge dense. Oh, sponge dense. That sounds interesting. Let's sponge it up. I wonder if it's ever finished, or if I just have to stop it when I'm happy. I'm gonna go make this much smaller here. 60 is it's a bit large, isn't it? Maybe with the spongy thing, maybe 5 is a good idea. Sponged out. Then the other thing I'm wondering then is, can I do this with multiple layers? So if I go and say my original brush size was this, and I just put this onto that layer, and I'm saying, okay, that's awesome, stop it, make a new layer, and then on top of that layer I want to have this maybe acrylics dry brush effect, perhaps. Is that how it works? I think it does, yes. I think it applies that on the other layer now. Very nice. Okay, good to hear. Yes, I think broken ribs, I think they can't really do anything about it. They just let them heal by themselves and tell you not to move. I remember the guy who was delivering medication for me when I was on the cancer treatment. He had to lob these heavy boxes out of his car. And he had 2 broken ribs, and I was thinking, oh my god, don't do that. And the doctor said to him, you know, not to lift anything, and he just did it anyway. And I was thinking, no, don't do it. Right, spongy layer, my other layer, but the other layer is now so detailed it almost doesn't look like we've put anything on there. So I'll go delete that layer again and use a different type of brush. Chalk textured. Yeah, chalk textured maybe. I like it. You auto paint. Oh, it's a massive brush stroke now. That's not the one I wanted. Well, actually, it varies the brush stroke as well. Interesting, interesting. Oh, and it is finished at one point. Oh, I see. I see. Ah. Amerga, how you doing? Good to see you again. I'm exploring exciting auto paint options in Corel Painter, and also I'm wondering what the best workflow for this is, because there's so many things that you can let it turn a regular photo or screenshot or whatever into a really cool painting. So let me go and close this down without saving it. This was the one that I had opened, I think. I'm going to close that as well and just go open another one. I think the way I did it was, did I just open it? Yeah, I just opened it, didn't I? I didn't necessarily clone it or whatever, or place an image. I just opened it, the one that I wanted to do something with, like this one maybe. The Emerga is here. Ooh, that looks nice. And then I think I just say File, Clone, and that puts this into the clone option here. Yeah, I think this is a much easier way to do it. And then I'll just clear the canvas, clear out the canvas, and then I'll say pick myself an AI style. I'm not entirely sure about what the preset is and what the style is. So if we say medium charcoal maybe, it does something. I don't really know what it is. It does, or how to exactly bring it back, but I think it's necessary to do that. Oh, my canvas looks really weird, but hey, that's okay. Underpainting. Let's try the underpainting as well. Watercolor scheme, perhaps. So I don't know what that now is. Perhaps we're not too worried about it. And now I'll go and say Smart Stroke and pick a brush of my liking, colored pencils perhaps. And then I let it paint. Whoop, hang on. I have painted on the canvas. I didn't mean to do that. Add a layer on top of that, and then auto paint that layer. Using smart painting. Good stuff. Smart strokes, but not smart settings. I have a feeling these are all features that crept in over many, many years. I wonder when the computer deems it finished. When it looks exactly like the original, perhaps? I can't zoom in while it's hard at work. Yeah, nice. I gotta say, very nice. If I wanted to get rid of these white blotches now, I could just go and say, make another layer, put that layer underneath this top layer, if this is kind of my detail layer now. And I'll say on this layer, let me go and use a different, something else, like acrylics, this here. and have that auto paint with much broader strokes. That should get rid of these things. Thank you, that's enough. Put my detail back, and then now I have something underneath it. Not bad, I must say, not bad. And then if there's anything I want to restore from the original picture, I can go with the restore palette here, I suppose. If I'm thinking that part of the tree, oh actually, this here, that part of the tree should come back to its original form. I can make that happen. Not that it makes sense in this spot here, but I suppose it's possible. Interesting. I'm having a ton of fun with this. This is just so cool. I'm really excited about just turning screen grabs from video games into pieces of art. It's very, very cool. But then, of course, it doesn't quite stop there. So auto painting is one thing. There's other things like painterly effects that you can apply there. See if I can remember how to do that. Tonal surface is, yeah, there we go. Like esoterica. You can go and make a pop art fill. Those are cool things. Those are not the effects I was looking for, actually. Yeah, they're more effects that I remember you could just apply. Was it this here? Like if I go sketch? Right, yes, it goes. This is kind of these cheapish type effects that we know from early versions of photo manipulation softwares, I believe. Do I need to flatten my image for this as well? I'm sure there was something like merge down or merge visible. Collapse layers, that's it. Perfect. Apply lighting screen color overlay. Oh. Image express texture. What does that do? Oh, okay. Nice. I wonder what that does. If we say image luminance, say okay. It's ruined it. Even though it would have also been a neat vignette effect. So if I go, maybe I just duplicate this layer and then go and turn that into whatever I just had there. Was it surface control, express texture, image luminance like this. And then if I go and put this to multiply and then just dim down the opacity a bit. It still kind of ruins it, but I thought, you know, maybe it is through experimentation that we get to find all these things out, I guess. Oh yes, have you upgraded to Blender 3.0? Oh, oucheroo. That is cool. I've tried out the early alpha. I haven't tried much with it yet. But yeah, that is also on my list of things to do. I've just had to reinstall Windows, so this is basically a fresh version of Windows, and I'm still finding my way around it with all the, you know, bits and pieces and old drivers I had to restore and stuff. Dye concentration. I don't really see, did it do anything? It did nothing. Okay, fine. Dye concentration, not for me. Good stuff. Image warp. What are we warping? Drag in the document to distort the image. Oh, okay, nice. It's like a liquefy. Linear cubic. I just left click and drag it out. Spherical as well. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure about this. That's all under surface control. Quick warp. What are we warping? Oh, okay. Ah. Let me go zoom out a little bit before we can make any judgment calls here. Surface control. This was image warp. Oh no, that was the other thing. Quick warp. Power and angle factor. So sphere, is that, do we need to drag here? No, we just say how much power we want. Oh, that is neat. What does the angle factor do? It ruins it. There's also bump, valley, swirl and ripple. Oh, okay. Hours of fun. What does ripple do? Oh yeah, that's what ripple does. How are we doing on the valley front? Oh yeah, interesting. I mean, all these effects are really interesting, but would you remember that this is how you're using them? I think they're really just designed for us to just play with it. And then if we happen to like something, we go, hey, great, let's save it. That's quick warp. Gotcha. Surface control, woodcut. Oh yes, what does woodcut do? Ah, woodcut. Certainly woodcut. Not sure if I understand it. Color set, do I define that? More surface control. What else we can do here? Distress. Yes, let me distress my image. Yeah, that's serious distress. Original luminance. I'm not entirely sure about the white border here. I don't get it at all. What is this? Serigraphy? That sounds good. Do you know what serigraphy is, Brian? Choose a color, click in the image to specify a color. Well, I don't know, maybe this here, as well as this, or just one. Fill with. That'll look terrible. I don't really know what that is. Many mysterious things they do here. Apply lighting and apply screen. Now maybe we can understand that. Apply directional lighting. Oh, that's an interesting one. Maybe I should do it a bit smaller again then, so we could get to see this whole. Apply lighting. With multiple light sources even? Look at that, interesting. I tend to ruin things. That's just way too much. Didn't we just see a preview there? I guess we didn't. No, we did not. If this is supposed to be the preview, yeah, it's accurate. I don't really understand this. Or why we would ever need it. It's like there's the ruin picture option. Why would you put that in there? Does that make sense? Okay, I'll duplicate that layer again, just in case I did ruin something for good here. There's a fancy term for silk screen printing. Oh, I see. What's silk screen printing? Mr. Nate! Welcome back! Thank you so much for the POAP. Did you all get your POAPs yesterday from the ruined picture button? Yes. Nate gave us all a POAP after the stream yesterday that can now go in your wallet and live your wallet, which is really nice. Thank you, Nate. Julia doesn't have her own wallet yet, so we're working on that. Maybe maybe there's another one available for her. She'd like a POAP. Okay, how else can we ruin the pictures here? We've been focusing on surface control. There's also apply screen. Oh yes, ruin picture in a different way. I like it. Maybe does it matter if I pick a color? It just ruins it. Why would you have that? Oh, hang on a minute. Oh, I like it. Ooh. If you want your super crisp digital render to look like a Japanese newspaper printing from the 50s, this is how to do it. There's also image luminance. Oh yeah, that's like ruin picture completely without ever bringing it back to something usable. The paper is nice. That's groovy. Except for when you choose the wrong paper. Ooh, ooh. Thank you, Nate. That is nice. I think I can see this working in something. If you have a super crisp, clean render, even if it's a rubbish render, you just turn it into something that looks pretty cool. Or if somebody in your sequential story reads something that is printed on old paper, this is how you can make it happen. And then, of course, since we're clever enough to make a copy of our previous layer, I suppose we can also just blend the other layer in a little bit to make it look a little bit less terrible. And then the magic multiply comes and you can do all kinds of exciting things. This is cool. So Nate, we've already made this from a regular screenshot that I don't even have anymore, I think. Or is it... Yeah, this is kind of how it looked like. This is what the original picture looked like. And we've made this out of it. Well, actually the computer made that out of it. It kind of automatically applied brush strokes. That's neat. And then we've just added this as a surface texture thing. Not so bad, huh? I like it. It is so much fun. Yeah, there's just so much to do. So much to play around with. I'm gonna go and maybe even place the original picture back in here, just so that... Which one was it? This one here. That was the original picture. I'll go and place that on top of my layer stack. And we can see what other exciting effects there are. Oh, you see, this is not what I did. Like, not at all. Didn't I say place? Didn't I say file, place? Put that in here, top of the layer stack, not open. Why do you think it does that? That's terrible. Totally not what I asked for. Duplicate canvas. No. I'm placing an image into my other document, don't I? Isn't that what I'm doing? For some reason, it's not how it works, but that's fine, I guess. I don't really get the concept of place things then. Okay, or import maybe. Import, no, import texture. So I can't just... I thought place was just add an image like in place embedded in Photoshop. Is that not how it works? I don't get it at all. Why are you messing with my head? Let's start a new document. See if I care. And also, stay full screen, please. Let's try a different picture. Something more like dramatic in the woods and stuff. Maybe this one here. This is kind of an interior screenshot from among woods. Also, guys, you know, today is the final day of the current season of Fortnite, the final ever day. So Julia and I have decided that we're going to go and play around 2 o'clock on her channel, and it's going to hopefully be really cool because they usually do an event that is kind of the end game event, and we want to see what it is this year. So I'll go and duplicate this as well, just in case I'm ruining it with all the other effects here. There was surface controls, there's also focus, smart blur, camera, motion blur, depth of field, glass distortion. Oh, let's try that. Commit reference layer to an image layer. I don't know what it means, but sure, let's do it. Oh yes, I can see frosty glass effects now. Amount, yeah, more. Yes, frosty glass effect. All right, nice. Variance. I suppose that's how much these wiggles do vary, perhaps? Maybe? Or it does nothing? That's, oh no, it does something. Quick, let's put sliders in it and then make them not do anything. User won't know. Invert stuff. Oh yeah, I like it. That's glass. What's depth of field do? Can we put depth of field artificially into the picture? Thank you, Brian. Exactly, that's Julia's channel. From around 2 p.m. onwards, we're going to totally play. Julia's going to showcase her funky animes avatar as well. Well, depth of field minimum and maximum size, that's interesting. Luminance and image luminance as well as paper. Takes it quite a while to calculate this. I just don't know how it would understand where the focal point is without a depth layer. Image luminance versus original luminance. What's the difference? That's just, you only have one luminance. And also, what's the difference here between this and just a regular Gaussian blur? I mean, it's just blurred, isn't it? Funny enough, I just got an email from the friendly folks at Clip Studio Paint, a very similar program that allows you to put comics together, and it has an emphasis on speech bubbles and all that, but there's a ton of illustration features in there and funky brushes and stuff, and they've just added something, or in the next update that's coming next week, they've added something like a liquify filter and a few other interesting things, including 3D features, so I think I might have a look at that when it's released next week. Yeah, I don't really see how... Is this tree more in focus than the owl? Is that how it does it? That'd be nice if we could apply depth of field intuitively onto renders that we've already made, even if we just, you know, blend them together in regards to layers. That's what I usually do. If I have to do that, I just go and make a duplicate of a layer, sometimes 2 duplicates, and then they have different blur intensities, and then I just go and paint masks so that that one kind of goes into the other. But this I don't really get. So this is everything in focus. Tree is still pretty much in focus. And it takes quite a while to calculate, so I wonder if it's doing some kind of magic here. That's another new channel. Jay waits for the computer to do stuff. So it looks like it's left this in focus, but this is blurry. So maybe minimum size, if we increase that, see what happens. Now it looks like it's rendering much slower. Right, a selection. That makes sense. And do you just draw a selection in the image? Or like pick a selection and then you use this filter? Ryuken, hello! Welcome to the stream! Because I would imagine that if this would require a selection, it would have probably told me this in the dialogue. Like in the other dialogues, it said, "Yeah, drag in the picture to make this come out." I wonder if this looks literally at the image detail now and sees where, I don't know what, because it can't really know that this is the foreground and this is the background without me either delivering something like a depth layer or, like you say, Brian, with adding something like a selection there. Man, this better be good, this calculation. We've been waiting for like, 2 minutes. Okay, we're nearly there. Only 10 more minutes to go. Okay. I know that some of these features work in that, like especially the painting features, that like the auto painting features, you can apparently make a selection and then apply the auto paint, and then the painting only happens in that selection. Come on, show us what you can do. 51.8 with image luminance. That better was the magic value. It's blurry. There's no magic to it. Okay, I'm gonna go cancel this. This was no, cancel. No, don't apply. No, just cancel, reset. No, get out. I can't wait for another 10 minutes. Seriously, there's escape. Phew. Excellent. This was focus, glass distortion. We had motion, camera motion blur, smart blur. How is this smart? And are you calling the other thing dumb blur? This works without the preview, I take it. Has anything blurred? I can't really tell. It's shifted positions. I can see that. But that might just be, maybe I've done something wrong here then. When I said duplicate layer, that is actually what I meant. I didn't mean just feel free not to duplicate it. I think maybe Painter needs to be reset quickly. Let me just go just redo everything. I don't think Painter's happy. Hey Jay, also there's a new version. You shouldn't be using the old version. Go to the DMV office. Yes, excellent, Brian. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate that. I'll tell you if there's anything exciting I'll figure out here. Any exciting highlights, you'll be the first to know. Put the black thing safely on the road. See if I just go open the image, like our owl image. See if we can work this out. Owl image, check. I'll just use the canvas for this now. I'll just go and duplicate the canvas and do all my adjustments on the duplicate canvas. So focus, smart blur. That's blurred, that's unblurred. I can barely see a difference. I gotta be brutally honest. Let's really crack it up to 80% or something. Oh, I can see something blurred now. How is this smart though? I don't understand. So what I find interesting is that it has kind of retained the objects with detail and the objects with not so much detail. It's just basically smudged out. That's interesting. Hey, that's not bad. I like that. Smart blur, hey? Interesting. Let me go and do this, duplicate this again. And then this is perfect. This was the smart blur canvas. Let me go and put that in there. Smart blur. Just so that I remember. And then I'll go see what happens on this effect here. Then the next one, focus smart blur. So camera motion blur we didn't really get. Depth of field. Oh no, camera motion blur we didn't try yet. Dragging the image to specify the camera's jitter motion. I know this from Photoshop. This is kind of nice. And Photoshop has it like a directional arrow that you can put. It's like if you're driving by in a car, I suppose. And if you make a long stroke, I suppose, it just goes. It's like artificial motion blur. This is interesting. I suppose then, so I think what it does is if you drag slowly, it just makes multiple copies of the picture as you drag, and it then goes and blends them together. Whereas when you do it fast, it works, it's almost like it works faster. So it only has this one and the few images in between. But if I drag slightly slower, then it has more images that it takes longer to calculate, but it also gives that smoother transition. That's interesting. Ha! That is cool. That's how you see the world. Oh. Yeah, so 3D programs have that sometimes as well. Like Poser, Dash Studio, and 3D Light, they have these motion blur effects, and it's really difficult to set them up. So sometimes, like in Poser, I remember you could have an animation of a figure waving their hand, and then the Poser would literally render every of these pictures, which would take like however long it takes to render that picture, and then it would blend them all together. So it's a very inefficient way to apply these things. That's interesting. So Painter does that too. That's cool. I like it. What else then? Blur, glass distortion, motion blur, motion. So this was camera motion blur. What's motion blur then? Oh, I see. That's basically the way that Photoshop has it. You give it an angle as to where you want for this to happen, the thinness and the radius, and then it goes and does this. So it's less of a, it's a different way of applying a similar effect, I guess. Ryu can tell me, did you get this copy of Painter? Because we're in the lucky position that they've extended this amazing $30 offer. If you haven't picked this up, it's really worth doing that. Not so much for these effects, but for all the exciting painterly effects that you can apply there. Sharpen and soften, super soften, and zoom blur. Oh my god, yeah, let's try zoom blur. That's cool. No settings, we just go boom. Oh, there we go. Zoom blur is exciting. Click in the image to specify the center of the motion. Yes, let's make it. Let's make that the owl. So then everything around the owl basically goes and looks like we're zooming in or out. Or we can zoom in, so that's basically the reverse of the effect. I'd imagine. Yes, nice. Let me go make that a bit stronger here, maybe 20%. Just the owl's eyes here. That is excessive motion, yes. Yeah, this I think is going to be really cool for adding finishing touches on onto 3D renders. when you have, you know, 3D renders always look really squeaky clean, and sometimes you want to give them a bit of life. Maybe not so much the foreground character, but if you have something that you need a funky background for, this is ideal for that. Yeah, Nate, type !Painter. For those of you who haven't picked this this package up, you can still get it for $30. It's like nearly $1,000 worth of software that they're giving away on Humble Bundle. You support me, you support charity, and you get yourself a seriously cool graphics tool. It comes also with not just Painter 2021, also comes with PaintShop Pro 2021, a video editor by Corel, and it comes with a ton of brushes. We'll look into brushes in a minute because this is just, there's just so much you can do. That is really cool. Yeah, so !Painter. Check it out. It's really, really funky. Nice. So we have motion blur as well. Awesome. Let me go and copy the canvas then, duplicate. And this one I'll call motion blur. Excellent. Let's see what else we can find. Effects. There's so many cool things here. Apply marbling in esoteric. This is another section here. So this was focus, soften, super blur, zoom blur. Oh, that's actually zoom blur, not motion blur, was it? Zoom blur. Let's try this other category here. So esoterica, apply marbling. This is very cool. So marbling is this kind of effect, like a wavy effect. And I think we can get a preview as well. This is a little bit strong perhaps, but you get the picture. Again, just turn ordinary pictures into funky little effects. I think marbling isn't my favorite, I gotta say. But esoteric has a few exciting things. Blobs. What's auto clone? Auto Van Gogh we need a special brush for. We can have a look at that. I think I need to clone the image first for this to work. Auto clone, what does that do? Ooh, hello. Is that a good idea? Just a smidge, yes. Don't ruin the picture, man. Why would you? Why? No, don't do that. Stop whatever it is you're doing. That's terrible. Put orange smudge on canvas. No, why do we need an option like that? That's terrible. A flash wall, yes. Also, make sure the escape key is blocked while we do that, so that nobody can abort this operation. They have to sit there for 10 minutes and just go be sad about the fact that Corel Painter has just destroyed their picture. Thanks, guys. Thanks, dev team. That's what happens when you press random buttons without knowing what they do. Should have read the manual. What's the fun in that? Come on, stop it already. Oh, we've stopped now. Good stuff. Undo. See if undo works. If undo doesn't work, delete layer. Sorry about that, computer. Righty. Is this the auto clone source here? Did this have something to do with it? Because that looks like the fleshy bit here. I don't really know how the fleshy bit got in here. Manual, exactly. Esoterica. Oh, yeah, it was esoteric. Let's do blobs. Blobs is good. Oh yeah, look at that. That's important. Current color, paste buffer, or pattern. See, current color. I think I might just go and not use the... I don't think I have a clone picture here. Let me go and say clone this. They need to work on the application frame, I gotta say, like badly. Blobs preview. I don't see any blobs. Oh, it's because, oh, I know, because I'm on a new layer, so we need to go and... I think we need to be on the actual picture for these things, for these effects to work. Blobs. And now it goes and picks a terrible pink. I'm not entirely sure why. What is the paste buffer? Should we pick from there? Still pink. How about a pattern instead? Why would we do that? Where's the pattern defined? So current color, I don't really understand. More blobs. I didn't type the extra 0 in. I want more blobs. Tons of blobs. Does dragging the image do anything? No. Random seeds good. Redistribute the amount of the position of these things. It's almost like a particle effect in Blender. See if we make him 20 minimum. This is why you can switch the preview on and off. If you want to just hack in some numbers here, it's between 20 and 200. And maybe, yeah, 200 is good. Aha! See, now we're making art. Maybe 20 and 100 is good. Subsample 4:1. Yeah, so I like it. I like it. It does, doesn't it, Pamela? It does. It's what I find fascinating is when you just go and play with these things and you come up with something that you think, oh, I never thought I'd like to make something like that. That's cool. I like it. Pamela, how are you this morning? Good to see you. That's blobs. Interesting. Very interesting. I'll leave the blobs. I'll leave the blobs alone. I'll go duplicate the canvas and just try the next effect. Esoterica custom tile. Oh, I see. Using brick tile, hex tile. Ooh, nice! You can make a hex pattern. That is cool. Scale, make it larger. Now that is funky. Ah. So I'm excited about making interesting backgrounds from these things. So mundane photos that you took or renders that aren't being special, you turn them into that and give that as a background layer to some foreground object. My goodness, you can do all kinds of things. Blur radius. Exciting. This is how I've spent my last week, literally doing this. And there's so many options. The brushes are phenomenal in Painter. Grout thickness. Oh yeah, make thicker grouts. Oh yes. It's funny, a few months ago I was looking to create something like this from scratch in Photoshop, and I thought it was really difficult to do. I did manage to do it, but it wasn't actually as easy as this, so that's neat. And this is just one effect, so these are the hex tiles. These would be the bricks. Whoops. Reset the bricks. Bricks width and height. Ooh. Bricks. Squares, triangles, crosses. 1264. Oh my goodness. 1264 version 2. Yeah, we need to have a look at that. What is that? Let me go apply this again, but also go zoom in a little bit so that we see like the owl up close. I think that might be cool. Custom tile this was. Bricks. Cross. Oh, like a little plus sign. I get you, a little plus sign like a puzzle. 1264, right. Add a bit of grout. Look at that. Angle. Oh yes. Yes, 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 yes. I like it. Blur passes, blur radius. My God. Like pixel art, exactly, Pamela, that's exactly right. I mean, you know, if you ever needed to buy a tool that lets you make all kinds of random exciting pixel art, you could literally have one picture and then you turn it into 100 different variations with things like this, and that's your collection of 100 different NFTs, basically. And you get all this for 30 bucks. Can you imagine? This is really cool. So Corel sell this as a premium program, like on par with Photoshop, and it costs the same as well. Usually like along the lines of $15 a month if you get the subscription. But Humble Bundle have it for 30 right now, which is really cool. It's last year's version, but hey, I don't really mind about that. That's just so cool. 30 bucks gets you this program with a ton of brushes, and you get Paint Shop Pro, which is their kind of version of Photoshop, Corel's version of Photoshop, and another video editor, all for $30. Tons of brushes, very, very cool. Yes, think about it. It's just really exciting for to make pixel art or any kind of interesting looking artwork, especially for NFTs. But also for just regular renders. I think this is just nice. Oh yeah, I'll just leave it zoomed in on the little on the owl here. See what else we have. That was Esoterica. That was the custom tiles. Grid paper. Right. This is basically just rendering something out, isn't it? That's nice. So if you needed lines on something that you've made, horizontal lines, that's cute. The Photoshop has this. Oh, look at that, dots. That's neat. Photoshop has this thing that is, turns it into a blueprint. A little blueprint overlay. Very nice. Funny. I hope I'll remember where that is. Under Esoterica. Make mosaic and tessellation. Oh yes, let's do that. Apply tiles, dimensions, clone color, grout color. Ugh. Where do we even begin? Respect edge of image. I'm not sure if I understand this. Okay, let's move on to the next effect. If I don't get it, we'll move on. Growth, high pass maze, place elements, pop art fill. What's growth? What are we growing? Oh, okay. Drag in the document to grow the pattern. Do we have a choice of patterns that we grow? This flatness. Oh yeah, I see. Ooh. Okay. Number of branches. How many times we fork? Wow. Fork ratio. In case we ever need that. That's called growth. Yes, indeed, for Windows, yes. Very interesting. And that's burnt into the canvas layer, so I might go and just duplicate my previous one. No, not that. Oh, I don't think I have a canvas anymore that is unscathed. Well, maybe I can go place the image in again. That was my owl image here, this one, I think. I think Painter has an issue with placing images. I don't really... Oh, there we go. This is like place embedded in Photoshop. And then we have a new canvas layer, perfect. That we can now mess with more. Grid paper growth, high pass maze, and pop art fill. Place elements. What are elements? What elements are we talking about? Ooh, okay, those elements. Where do they come from? Is this the brush that I have selected? Yes, I think so. Now I'll go duplicate my layer so that I have one that is safe. So if I go and pick a different brush now, doesn't have to be a cloner, could be like maybe a particle brush. Right, interesting. Will this now do that? Like effects, esoterica, place elements. Oh no, that's now gone. That's interesting. Can't do that anymore. Some brushes, they need to be, you need to pick certain brushes for this, like Auto Van Gogh. I think that only works if you pick the Painter 11 brush selection. It's a little bit convoluted how you have to do it, but if you pick that, then you can go into, I think, the artist's brushes, and there's the Auto Van Gogh brush here. And when you have that selected, then you can go to Effects, Esoterica. Oh, Auto Van Gogh. No, actually, I need to clone that picture as well then. I think you need to clone it so that Painter knows that you have a clone source for this. And I think then, does it work then? Auto Van Gogh, selected effects, Esoterica, Auto Van Gogh. Now it works. So if I do that, it just goes and renders it, and it's Van Gogh'd. Isn't that amazing? I don't know if there's any settings for this, but hey, I've Van Gogh'd the picture. It's just so cool. I've made it into art. This is very nice. Before and after. Yes, you're right, Tugs. I don't know. I don't really know why that is. Welcome to the stream. Wonderful to see you. And Mr. Nick is here. It's true. Yes, Nick. That is so. Photo art is what Painter calls turning regular pictures into artistic bits and pieces. Let me see if I can do it with this. I think we've just cloned this. There's a special menu that you can open up here under where was it again? Photo art panels. There we go. We have all these. So I've cloned the picture. Cloning means that the image that you want to work with, I think it needs to be added into this, what they call the clone buffer, just so that it has colors that you can pick up from it, and then you can go and tell Painter to essentially auto paint. So I'll go and pick a brush that I'd like to do that with. Usually it's a cloner brush. Let me go to my Painter 2021 brushes and pick one of the cloners. And I could go and say, like, the furry cloner. If I use this on a new layer, I think I can now go and pick up the colors from the original picture, but then turn it into something else. And I can do this with so many brushes and just use the colors that you have in the picture already, just turn it into something that it wasn't before. And to make it all even more exciting is that you can ask the program itself to do this. So if I just go make a new layer here, disable this layer, I think under auto painting I can tell Painter to do this with smart strokes, and now it paints for me. And this is just one brush I can use for that. And you can also blend multiple layers together. So if I'm thinking that this is a bit this is kind of gives me some nice effects here on this area there, and you say that's interesting, but it's not quite there yet. You can just leave that for one part of the image, blend it together with some other parts of the image. Eventually it's finished, but you can just say, I'm done here, thanks. Let's go and make another layer and pick a different brush. Instead of the furry cloner, perhaps something like the Impasto Texture Emboss. See what that does. Does that do something for us? Oh yes, there we go. Does actually put an impasto texture effect on this here. This is kind of nice if you have a 3D render and something's come out bland, so not so much this here, but if you had something like the like this and it's just a flat brown, or maybe the windowsill here, and you think, you know, actually I'd like for this to have a little grain, a little bit more detail, you just go paint that in, and then all of a sudden your flat 3D render looks more interesting than it did before. So that is, I think, what Corel mean by photo art. And that's just so many different things that you can do with this. If I go and add another layer, let me go and see what else we can find under the cloners brushes. Pastel cloner or particle. This one. What was this one? Particle springworm. That sounds interesting. Also curious. Let me have the program auto paint this with smart strokes. See what comes out. I think for me, this really gets my creative juices flowing and thinking, ooh, this is, look at all the interesting stuff I could potentially make with this. Yeah, like this is, so the smart strokes mean that it doesn't just randomly apply it. If I disable it, it just goes and randomly applies it all over the image. But with smart strokes, I think it looks at the image content and it would recognize that this here is something that it would go away from and towards, and then just looks at all the other image elements, and that's how it then uses the brush strokes to make that happen. It's kind of cool, isn't it? It's fascinating to watch. Frosted windows, absolutely, Tuck, exactly. You know, it reminds me, Ryukin, Chris was doing a funky Christmas tree on his last Twitch session. That was really nice. I like hanging out with Chris. Chris uses Blender and Marvelous Designer, and usually puts his projects into their studio so that he can then go and share them with users on his Ko-fi store. It's really, really nice to hang out, and you can always pick up new tips and tricks. You get to ask questions. It's a wonderful atmosphere there. Let me go and give Chris a shout out there, Nate. Exclamation mark Chris. It's wonderful. He streams about 3 or 4 times a week, including tonight, actually. Nicely done, Painter. Very good. I'll just go switch you off. Thank you so much. Do you know, yes, that's absolutely right. You can animate this. There's also, what was the other effect? Oh, let me see if I can find that. That was another one that I'm thinking, just like you, I'm thinking outside the box and think this is not just something you can use as a still image. This looks cool, but if you animate the whole process of it happening, that was nice. Where was that again? This was another thing. Was it under effects? I think it was esoteric as well. And that was make mosaic and tessellation. My goodness. Was it objects? Focus? Oh, I forgot what that was now. It was something that lets you... Oh, it was the distort brush. I remember that now. It's the distort brush. Let me see if I can pick that up. Distort. Yeah, that was also under Painter 11, I believe. And that was totally wild. And you can just go in through the image and the image goes and changes itself. Distortion, there it is. Turbulence, my favorite. And the funky thing is you can just keep doing this and it turns your picture into something completely different. And eventually it's impossible to remember what it actually was. So the more you do this, the more it does this. But then if you record this process and then play it back in reverse, it just comes back and turns itself into a picture. So that's super cool for things like logos and all that. Grainy distortion, water bubbles. What are water bubbles? Oh yes, look at that, little water bubbles. This might not be the best picture to show this with. But hours and hours of fun, really. Confusion. Oh yes, confusion is a favorite effect of mine as well. Sometimes it doesn't really want to zoom in. I don't really know why. Come on, dude, zoom already. Where's zoom? Zoom, this zoom. That's not zoom. I thought it was just control and plus. There we go. Sometimes it doesn't work. So confusion brush. Confusion does this. And the more you do it, the more kind of prickly and confused things get. And what I like doing this, what I like using this for is if you have elements in your picture or especially in your background that would detract from something that might be interesting. So if I shouldn't have done it on the owl here, but if I like for the owl to be the center point and I don't want for this to be in complete focus here, the tree, I suppose I can just go and make the tree, turn the tree into a bit of confusion tree here. I mean, there's also brushes that let you do this with just blur this out. It has that as well. It's just super cool what you can do with this, and just gently guide the viewer to the thing that is really important in your picture, and blur some stuff out that you don't want to draw attention to, or just want to draw attention away from. So by blurring this out a little bit, I think I have my owl now stands out more. This doesn't seem to take it, but hey, the background did. This is kind of cool. Yes, exactly. Field of view option for post-work. That's right. Right, yes, exactly. With the distortion brushes, there's just so many exciting things. Let me go and make a new document, actually. Or can I just open one? Let me go open one like this spooky tree picture here. These are all screenshots from Among Trees, an early access game that is made in, I believe, in Sweden. So distortion brushes. I think one of them was called Pinch. So there's all kinds of things, like the marbling rake is neat. It just goes and does this randomly all over your picture. So use with caution, and also not with such a large brush. Also, I didn't quite duplicate my picture here. I wanted to duplicate the canvas so that I can mess it up, and then I just have a good thing going. I was probably a little bit big here. Marbling rake just rakes things. Funky for all the fine detail. And then there's also the hurricane brush. That's a nice one. This is what the hurricane brush does. If this was weirdo forest, and again, if you record the screen and then go and turn this into an animation, you can also make this with you can turn the brush into a bigger brush, and then larger parts of the image are being hurricaned as we speak. Very nice to put that little extra sci-fi touch onto your pictures, and you don't have to do it as dramatic as I did, so you can do it fairly with small steps and really granular. I'm having so much fun doing this. It's just so cool, and the stuff that comes out, I'm thinking, my God, I can't believe my eyes. This is not something that I would have ever made, you know. As long as Painter doesn't crash, yes. Duplicate canvas. Let's try something else. I think hurricane was maybe a little bit crazy. The marbling rake. The pinch is nice. Pinch is kind of cool. Pinch does basically grabs things and pulls them together. So if some of these trees here are a bit too to large, I can just go and do this, and then they get thin and lanky without actually doing anything else with the picture. So, you know, if I want some to be larger, some to be smaller, it's effortless. It's really cool. And super addictive as well. Cloud a bit too strong here. Let's thin it out if we wanted to. Be careful you don't move sideways, so move with the strokes. And I think that's the opposite of it as well. It's just so cool, isn't it? I think the opposite is smeary turbulence, water bubbles, bulge. Bulge was the opposite of that. So if we wanted to increase some actions, yeah, I'm sure it has, Pamela. I think I've read it. There's a really good manual. This is one of those things that I really appreciate about the application. There's a really good manual here under help. There's a proper user guide that you get linked to, and a quick start guide. The quick start guide is about 40-50 pages, but the user guide is 900, and it's written by an artist. So not only do you get to not only do they tell you the interface elements, so what does what, but also the workflows and the approaches of why you'd want to do what. So I find that really, really cool. This is something that often software really lacks, not having proper documentation. And they have a really wonderful user guide here. Let me show you this. You just click on it and it's just a PDF document. Depending on which version you have, you get that particular document. And it's just so many things that this guide has. All the things that are new, keyboard shortcuts, how you do painting, the effects of why you want to do what, the different types of workflows, brush categories, how the medias work, and how you do all these photo art things, how you can use plugins. It's fantastic, seriously good. Yes, do you know, I like an approach of both these things, Pamela. I like both gonzo type pressing buttons, kind of what I'm doing right now. But I also like, once I've done it and I'm thinking, well, there's got to be a pattern to this. This is something that I haven't quite understood. You can go and read it up in the manual, and then you go, oh, that makes sense now. I like it. Let's make it bulge tree here. That's cool. And then it's kind of nice if you've gone over the top a little bit, you can just go and take the pinch brush and make it turn it into a thinner tree. Give things a bit more body. Also use make the landscape different here. I think there was another one that was interesting here. Instead of the bulge, I think there was something that you can literally use to distort coastlines. Coarse brush mover, I think that was it. And maybe it wasn't. No, it wasn't. That wasn't it. Confusion diffuser, distorto, grainy mover. Oh yeah, let me use grainy mover here. It just goes and fans things out then. That's neat. So if something has edges that you want to give a little bit more interesting character to. Smeary bristles, that was nice as well. Smeary bristles, I think they add a bit of the color to it that you've picked, so it's not the right color for me, I don't think. Have we cloned our document here? Yeah, we have. With the cloned document, and then if you switch over to this is a color that you pick, so you can go on. You know, if I pick something red, then red would kind of creep into what I'm doing here. But I think if you use the clone color, and if we had a clone document, which I'm not sure if we have, then you pick up the colors from the image that you've cloned. So if I clone this image, I'd have those colors kind of stored. It's kind of cool. Oh, do you think, Tuck? Yes, I can never tell if it's worth keeping or not. If I just doodle around, I'm thinking, well, you know, is it worth keeping? And then I just go and destroy things. So you're right. Yes, I should really keep those layers and then not just dispose of them. Thank you for the tip. I might do that. Looks like a forest fire here, but we have other brushes for that. So I think there's like fire brushes and stuff. You can just literally draw fire there. Yeah, like a flame brush. That's another cool idea. I think I have a whole section here. So if you buy this Humble Bundle pack, it comes with a ton of additional brushes. And brushes are kind of the magic of Painter, and anyone can create brushes. And many people, in fact, have done that. So these are some that I've picked up here. All That Glitters, Android Jones pack, Cracked, Don Siegmiller, Expressive. But there's also one that's called Flame here. Let me see if I can draw some flames in here. Candle, Crawler, Embers, Flame. Let's go with Flame and see if I don't think we need photo art anymore. Let me go close that on a new layer. That's not quite what I meant. But interesting effects, the interesting brush effects that you can use on a blank canvas there. I'll show you that in a minute. I thought maybe that's just something that would go better with what I'm doing here. Oh, there we go. That might do the trick. Also really nice when you do paint with colors, there's this harmonies concept that if you pick a color, there's these harmonies down here that basically show you variations of it and a complementary color on the other end of the color circle. There's also this here that you can have the different types of harmonies. Split complementary. So there's all kinds of things you can switch on here, many of which I don't really know what they are. But yeah, it's just a nice concept to have. So sometimes the complementary is probably good. And split harmony is probably also cool. Paint your own fire. I'm not really good at painting fire, but there's a ton of other brushes that can do that here. Stovetop. Yeah, that's not really what I meant. Torch. Let's try that. Oh, this is really nice. Let me go make a new document and start with just a dark type canvas here and just doodle around with some of these brushes because they're really exciting. So this one is from the Flame pack here. And this is what it does, so exciting stuff. Give it a bit more color, and you can see it doesn't just put color on the canvas. It does actually a variation of the color that I've picked and something lighter. So much fun. And this is just one of these flame brushes here. Imagine that in addition with all these effects that we've explored. Then like sunrise. What does sunrise do? Oh, okay. It's like that, is it? I know it has the concept of paths as well. And unlike Photoshop where you can draw a path and then have the path be stroked with the brush, this works a little different here, that you go and, ooh, that's nice, that you go and draw a path and then you enable an option that lets you take your own brush and then draw along the path. So you stroke it yourself. You don't tell Photoshop, like in Photoshop you tell it to do it. It just, in here you just go and say basically put my brush stroke close to the path, and then you just go along the path. Something I haven't actually tried out yet. Maybe we can figure it out. Brushes, seriously addictive stuff in Painter. It does, doesn't it, Nate? Flame Painter, another super exciting tool. Flame Painter, Rebel, and In Spirit. My goodness, so much fun. What else we got here? Graphic Impact. Let's try that. What's Graphic Impact? Scorch, Spyro. Ooh, neat. Like the change of colors here as you draw. Spyro. What's Scorched? Oh yes. Nice. Very scorched. Just cool for all kinds of background additions. If only we'd ever remember what brush does what, huh? What's Tangled? Ooh, Tangly. Or was this the brush, Nate, where I said this is kind of, dear so-and-so, I was really surprised getting your letter the other week, and of course I was seriously disgruntled. That was Tangled. Scratches? What are scratches here? Graphic Impact scratches. The thing is, there's literally millions of these. Grid Warp? What is ooh, Grid Warp! Oh yes! Grid Warp. Where do you get the colors from? I don't really know. I mean, it takes the color that I have selected, but it goes and adds other colors to it. It's just so fun. So much fun! 151, right? Grid Warp. Crystallize. Let's crystallize stuff. Oh yes. Okay, I'll leave this. I'll make another layer. We haven't even gotten to layers like thick layer paint. Clouds. Puffy fair weather clouds. Let's go pick something like a bluish thing. Oh yeah, we should also look at that. Draw your own clouds. Puffy as they are. Also, some of these brushes do react with what you have on the canvas. So like this is probably one that does actually that reacts with what's on the canvas already. Puffy fair weather cloud puff. Draw your own clouds. And then also mix them. If you have something like if you add a different color to it, I think you can mix these together. So as I draw, it kind of moves around what's already on the canvas. And some brushes mix things more than others. Clouds, what's combustion? Let's try that. Hazy stuff. Dragon. Oh yes. One of my favorites yesterday is something that I know, it's kind of a concept I know from Clip Studio Paint. That was the image hose brush. That's under the Painter 2021 brushes. And an image hose is a category that draws the same picture over and over. A simple face with a few brushes. I'm not sure if I'm good at face painting. So this is I found that very interesting here. This essentially, every time I make a brush stroke, let me pick a different size here. Maybe just size P. Is that it? Yeah, that's size P. Every time I make a brush, I just tip it. It draws a different picture. Depends on how hard I press. The picture gets. I think there's different sizes here. So size P on a spray. We don't want spray. Linear. Yeah, this is what we don't want that either. Maybe just size P. Size P is good. So as you do that, it picks a random image and keeps drawing that out. This is also does it in size. That's not what we want. We don't want that. And I was able to draw a wall with this. I'm just trying to look for the correct brush so that it doesn't doesn't spray it. There's one that does it better and just keeps the same size. But it's basically like a tiled wall. It doesn't look repetitive though. I've been able to make a shader from this in DAZ Studio, which is kind of cool. So you draw this out on a square canvas, and if you find there's anything like series repetition, you just go and draw over it. And the magic is that these guys have 4 or 5 stone tiles that all end at the same type of grout. So when you just go and put something over it, it's at the same rotation, but it always kind of fits into the pattern. I really like that. So if you were to take this, crop this out as a square, and then put it into Photoshop, and then use the offset filter so that you move the picture kind of 50% to the left and to the bottom, you see it doesn't loop. But then you bring it back into Painter and just paint over these streaks, and therefore create yourself a loopable tile of this. And I've been able to make like a shader from that in DAZ Studio, and we have this in 3D. It's kind of exciting. So in order to get the depth going there, I just go and have create a normal map in Photoshop, and then just go and offset this. This is just beautiful to do. I really like it. There is, in order to pick the texture for the image holes, you head over here, so you can pick tires, so multiple tires. If you're not into tires, you can also go and use candles, for example. Draw loads of candles. This is such a favorite in Clip Studio Paint. If you wanted to have a group of rocks and just illustrate, well, there's rocks here, and you don't want to draw every single rock individually. You just go and pick rocks and just pick that there, or you just go and put flower petals somewhere. And then some are varying this so that you go and that depending on how which way you rotate your pen, it goes, and that's where it draws stuff. It's absolutely fun. Candles. What else we got here? We've got I'm sure we have rocks. We've got trees. That's nice. Palm trees. Excellent. If you need to have a forest here, don't render the palm trees, just go draw them. There we go. Lots of forest. And then birds in the sky. Doesn't have to be that many. You can always draw them out sparse. So much fun. Even things like where was that now? Like a row of houses. So these were the houses. There we go. Those are the houses. This is now where the type of brush makes a difference. If you don't want them to spray, you just want that to follow. So don't use a spray, use a linear. And then you've got that row of houses. Seriously fun. And then houses, maybe there's another row of houses down here. Maybe we have something like street signs all over. I think street signs with these. There we go. Perfect. And of course we need trees. So they have, trees in the garden. Maybe if I do it on a different background, if I do it on a different layer, then I can just go draw palm trees behind it. Nice. So much fun. I'm looking forward to figuring out how I can maybe make my own image hose brushes. Don's Gravel Painter. Oh, this is nice. That's nice for backgrounds. Not so much for the street scene I'm making, but for all kinds of other things. Yes, and then add all these other funky painterly effects to it that we've learned about today. It's just so much fun. So much fun. Whoops. So much fun. See, this is how I'm spending my free time these days. I'm just picking different brushes and seeing what I can make with that. It's just so cool. FX. This looks nice. Glazing, image hose, impasto. There's just so many of these brushes and I just can't stop playing with them. Expressive, that sounds nice as well. Sketch, sand and soil, splatter, starry night, trees and foliage. Fur, clouds, combustion. There's just so many that I really don't know where to start. Chaos. Oh, chaos was nice as well. Chaos was groovy. Yes, I mean, I wish I could actually draw in real life. That would be cool. So sadly, I can't do that. So I have to resort to tools like this. Gauze blend. This reminds me of something we had on German television, actually. When I was a kid, they had something like this in between each advert that they were showing. But sometimes Painter doesn't exactly obey my command, so Control A means select everything and then delete that. It just doesn't want to delete that. Delete the layer. That's weird. It's not a special layer, is it? No. But I can't seem to delete it. There we go. Finally. Oh, this was on the canvas. Gotcha. We don't really want that on the canvas. Or maybe I'll just make a new document. That's all good. I'm not really making anything of much value here anyway, so. Chaos bud. I like it. That sounds good. I think that's for me. Very chaotic. Fiber mess, indeed. Very messy. So much to learn. I always forget these things. That's the other problem. Once I find things out, I'm thinking, oh, that's really nice. And then the moment I'd like to actually use it, I'm thinking, how do I do this again? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think on programs like Procreate, I really like just picking 2 or 3 and then just sticking with them, because you can these things, they're really nice to just put things down, but then you'd use like blenders and stuff to just blend this into the background again and just turn it into the smudgy thing that you need, I would imagine. Oh yeah, this is another thing I've found recently. If you have something that makes a kind of a texture, let's see. If this is a texture and you needed to put that onto something that's something more defined, I think you can go and take the selection adjuster. Is that how you do it? No, you select something first. There's also a selection brush, I think. Something, but if I go and do this, take this, selection adjuster, no, that's not it. You can basically take this and then tweak it and move it. That's quite nice. So I had something on, maybe it's on a particular layer that you then go and warp. So you pick it and you warp the edges and put it into a place where it needs to be. That was quite nice as well. I just forgot how to do that. Totally forgot how to do that. Was it modify maybe? No, that's expand, invert. Anyway, so much to do. And some things are a little weirder in here than they are in Photoshop. So I think that's sometimes what I find greatly confusing, that I know a concept from Photoshop and I'm kind of expecting for it to work here the same way, but of course it doesn't actually do that. So that's something that trips me up sometimes. So much fun. Yeah, so what we spent most of our time with today was literally having these things like the auto paint things. Let me see if I can remember that workflow. So new document, and then I go and place an image into here, I think. Anything like this. And it never really hits the middle, even though the manual suggests it would do that. It just doesn't do that. I don't know why. I'm sure there's a trick to it. I go and clone this image. And now I think, is it in the, just so for my own understanding, do I remember what we did here? Yes, that's perfect. That's cloned now. Also do leave that there. That was actually quite nice here. And now I can go make a new layer, canvas we don't really need anymore, and then try to make that something like a lava lamp version of itself. No worries. Thank you so much for dropping by, Pamela. Really much appreciated. Thank you so much. Yes, I will enjoy the brushes. I'm gonna go as well in about 5 minutes or so. Just once I've refreshed my memory here. Goody, lava lamp. Now I go to auto paint, smart stroke, and oh yeah, pick something, of course, that's important. What type of brush are we painting with? So I think I have to use something like a cloner brush for this. I don't think any old brush will work. I mean, we can try it out, but I think it has to be a particular brush. So like artist's oils, I'm not sure if that works. Like bristle, is that going to work? No, that's not really gonna. It's not really going to work. Maybe it does work. Could be. Let me see what happens if we paint this, auto paint this in oils. Oh my, look at that. I'm not sure if that's a good brush, but hey, good for an underpainting, I guess. Yes, me too, Nate. Absolutely. Yes, and I have too, yes. I wonder when it stops. I wonder if it's a bit like a 3D render where it looks at what are the white spots, and unless everything is covered or converged on an image, I wonder if it just goes and says, yeah, I'll just keep painting. Because I don't see this getting better or more covered as such. Even though there's these things at the top here, aren't there? Yeah, paint that in here. There. So if this is now pretty horrible, we're saying, okay, let's go and pick a different brush, and like maybe the real fan short. What does that look like? Yeah, that might be nice. In the colors of the picture. Auto paint, brother. Neat. Totally VanGoghed it. And then if there's any white splodges there, we say that doesn't really matter. We have this underpainting from the previous thing that looks like this. Could even just go drop the opacity of this down a bit so that that other dimension kind of shines through a little bit. Oops. Nice. And up close it looks like an oil painting now. I love it compared to what it looked like originally, which was just a fairly impressive screenshot from a video game. If I just go and turn it into that, that's just neat. That is just neat, isn't it? Ha! And can you imagine turning 3D renders with an effect like that into something really special? So that super crisp render that you've made in DAZ Studio, we could just go and have lots of fun with that. So I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to have a play and see what good brushes these were. These were artist oils, were they? Yes, Painter 2021 brushes in artist oils. All right, cool. I'm going to have a play with that and see what happens if I put some renders of mine through this. Maybe even tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That'd be kind of cool. Join me if you're free. I'm going to be on Twitch later on Julia's channel because it's the last day of Fortnite and we want to see what that big reveal is. If any of you want to join us for Fortnite, do let me know and drop by Julia's channel. I'll put a link into the description or into the chat in a minute. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend. I hope I'll see you tomorrow or back on Julia's channel. Take care. Bye-bye.
Stars.